tools to start off. A hammer, you can go get a cheap hammer at Harbor Freight for 10 bucks. And you can probably get a good pair of tongs online for like 20, 30, maybe 40 bucks. You don't need to get a 600 pound anvil. This is not 600, this is only 113 pounds. Yeah, it's 113. This is a hay button anvil, Brooklyn, New York, made somewhere between 1906 and 1911 from the research I found. I have some railroad tracks. That's what I started on, then I progressed to a little homemade anvil, and then I progressed to this. And you really don't need much more than a couple tools. I have a plethora because as I've gotten better and better, I started accumulating, making my own tools. So what I'll do today though is I'm going to take about 10 inches of this 1/4 inch bar, and I'm going to make a hook and a nail out of the same piece so that you can hang the hook with the nail. You know, most people will teach you to make a hook. Then you got to go home and drill a hole or what to get it in the wall. You know? So it's very simple stuff. I don't need the tongs just yet. So that you got your hammer, there's a rounding edge or a flat edge. You really want to start with the round, because we're going to take this square and we're going to round it. Do that by tapering it on the edge. I'm going to hit here and I'm going to turn 90 degrees every time I strike. So I'll reheat and I'll start hitting. And what that does...
Is that hot?
Not on this end, no. So as I twist and hammer, you'll see it sort of thinning out and tapering down. But it'll still stay square until I want to round it. It's up to you guys if you want me to square it or round it. So I'll show you how we do that in a little bit. It should only take a couple beats, but it's simple stuff. We're just doing this, and the technique is really, as I'm hitting, I'm letting the hammer bounce itself back, so I'm not even really doing anything but catching it. And it's still hot. You may not look at it, but it is still hot. You can kind of see how it's squared and thinned out and pointed, right? So I'll just draw it back a little bit more, get some bulk to it, and what we do is call square octagon round. So I'll draw it out a little bit more, and then I'll octagon it. Once I octagon it, which is taking all the lines out, then it becomes more round. So give it a little bit more heat. I'll draw it back some more. That done. This is the worst part of blacksmithing, is waiting. So usually I'll have two pieces in there and I'll work on one moment. So take it again, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit these corners and get rid of those corners. And this is just going to allow me to get the lines off, and you'll see as I do that on this next heat, it's going to get a little bit more rounded. This is just your square octagon round method. So you can see it's starting to get a little bit more rounded, but it's not perfect. So we'll heat it up some more. Get that going. Any questions so far? Pretty simple, right? Where it looks easy. And like I was saying, that rebound, see how I'm just dropping it? I'm going to use that to just come up. So I'm not hardly doing anything. I'm just catching it and just letting it drop. Now I like to use the flat end on this because I'm going to keep going in there. And I'm not hitting it hard. That's why I'm not coming all the way up here. It doesn't need to be, you know, hammering right now. I'm just trying to round. And if you notice, now I'm going in circles. I'm moving this around like this as I hit. And that's just rounding it out and cleaning it up. metal is still hot. Just to show you, it's still hot. It may not look it, but it was hot. We call that black heat. It's hard to see in the visual light, so if you kind of hold it down in the dark areas, you'll be able to see that it's still kind of red. And as you thin it out, the metal heats up faster too, so it's kind of fun like that. Start moving a little quicker.
You're not as bored as fast.
I'm sorry?
You're not as bored then.
Yeah, well, like I said, I usually do 2 pieces at a time, so while one's heating, I'm beating, the other one's going. It's called heat and beat, heat and beat. So the thicker the metal, the longer it takes. So for those just joining, we're basically going to make a hook and a nail out of the same piece. About 10 inches of steel, 1/4 inch. I'll put a twist, a curl, a bend, taper, draw. All these are basic techniques that will teach you to make just about anything you need out of steel. You can apply these principles to knife making, horseshoes, whatever you want to make. So I'm going to keep rounding, and that taper is going to draw as I'm rounding. And I kind of do it on the edge of the anvil so that I'm not hitting the anvil itself. It's kind of tedious, it's kind of simple, but it's effective and it works. And that's just the method I use. And then I'll dress it up. Because it's still hot, I'll dress it up to make it look better. Get everything in a center line. And what I mean by a center line is, see how it's kind of crooked still? It's not like perfectly straight, but it's more round. It's not squaring.
Yeah.
So I'll dress it up while we're out here. This is still hot. I'm just going to do some light taps. You don't have to cream hits every time. And I like to bring it to the back side of the anvil so that I'm not ruining my square piece. I want to keep that square. Doing this, I'm not keeping it flat on the anvil, I'm keeping it raised just so slightly as I'm twisting, and that's keeping all that going in a consistent direction. And you want to get some of your scale off. The more scale you can get off when you're making it, the better it's going to look on the finished product. So we'll get that heated up. Now I'll show you how I put a twist in, or a curl, scroll. Get to twisting in a minute. You don't even need to use tongs or anything at this point. You could use tongs, you can use pliers. You've probably seen a lot of people on YouTube using pliers to make a twist. There's nothing wrong with that. Excuse me. For me, I want a blacksmith. I want to do it traditionally. I have a coal forge at home that I like to use. This is just my quick forge. I'm going to show you how you do it right on the anvil without any other tools, just a hammer. And to me, that's when you know your skill is progressing to where you're not just hammering things and making little trinkets or whatever. So I'm going to hit this downward very easily because it's so small. You see that it's curling already. See that? Now I'll just bring it back to me. Come down on it and finalize it how I want. I'm kind of off hitting it so that I get it the way I want it to look. And I'm controlling the metal, not the metal controlling me. No tools, just straight hammer. Just bending it out, getting it there. Now we'll put a bend in. You can use the horn. A lot of people use jigs, like I have jigs set up where or if I wanted to, I know that, I think this is 11/16. Here's my 11/16. I know that my 11/16 will make a 1-inch diameter hook. So if I was trying to make multiples of these, I would use the jig. Just demoing, you can see me mess it up. I'm going to get nice good heat on it. I'll just take it around to the horn of the anvil, and it's just slow taps because you don't need to move it. The finesse is really the key, not the. It looks cool, but the job is really finesse. So what I'm going to do is I don't want to mess up that hook, so I'm going to harden it real quick, and I'm going to go hook side down. I mean hook side up, sorry, because I want that to be the front of my hook. So I'm just going to light tap right over the horn, and you can see it just kind of bending down. Okay, so we kind of got it where we want, and it's going to take another heat. Clean it up a little bit. This is my favorite part of blacksmithing, is this part. I don't know why. Anybody watch Black Bear Forge on YouTube? Yeah. Yeah. When he does it, like there's sparks going everywhere, and I'm like, why doesn't it do it for me? I'm not as good, I guess. More scale. More heat too. I don't know why, but that's my favorite part. What's that?
Because you have the chance to make fire.
You have the chance to make fire.
Oh yeah. We could cook hot dogs right now. Just hold them right here.
Just put it in about a second and then it's cooked.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be more than cooked. It'll probably be charred. It'll probably be charred. But like those squirrel cookers, put a hot dog right on that, put it right in there, eat it right off the tongs. You can make meat forks. You can make all this stuff.
How hot is that?
Right now, let's see. Yeah, let me put a thermometer in there real quick. It should be at like 1500 or so, maybe 12. This thing's saying 1730. I don't think it's that hot. It might be a little messed up.
What's ideal?
So a good forging heat is around 1400. If you're making knives, a good forging heat's about 15. And then when you start annealing and normalizing, you want to go like 1590 to 16. And then like 16 to about 16, 17. And then you want to bring it back down just before, you want to keep it at critical temperature where it's not magnetic before you quench it. But you want to let it air cool in between those cycles, or vermiculite it or dump it in ash so it's smokeless. And all that does is get your grain structures ranged well. So we're going to go ahead and finish bending this off. Now, I can come back over here just like I did before with the curl. Clean it up the way I want. Get this straightened out so you can always clean it. The beauty is, you mess it up, just put it in again and fix it. Up, make sure it's flat. I'm happy with that. So now we got our hook. I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut the end. There's two ways you can cut it. You can use a chisel, So I can chisel through, or I can use a hot cut. I'll do a little of both so you guys can see all of it. I really prefer the hot cut because I think it's more controlled. The chisel is a little bit less controlling. You gotta like hold it between your legs and stuff. I prefer the hot cut. Any questions so far? Nothing? I got a question for you guys. What side of the rounding hammer do I use for the taper?
Round side.
Round side. What about for cleanup? Flat side. Congratulations, you guys are right. I have nothing for you, but you just know that you were right.
Got some bragging rights.
Alright, so if I was chiseling it, I'm going to take it from the face to the step. I don't want to cut it on my face. I'd rather mess it up on my step. And it's just that simple. If I was to cut all the way through, it's just that easy. So what I'm going to do is I'll do the hot cut now so you guys see both. This is a little bit more fun because you can make a precise cut. And as you're twisting it on here, you're getting it more even. If you're cutting with the chisel, it's going to either be canted or you're going to have like a little taper on it. This is going to put a little point, which is perfect because if I'm going to make a nail or anything, I would want that point. It'll leave a point on the end of the rod where I'll make the nail from. So it's already kind of got me set up for that taper. You want to kind of think ahead sometimes on these. It's however you want to do it. There's no right or wrong. There's just different ways and methods. Are you able to see from there?
I'll stand up with you.
Alright, so let's... So, I got my marker. I'm going to twist it just a little bit. Again, I'm not hitting it very hard. I'm just working it around. And you can see it's making like the divot in the middle so that when I cut it, can you kind of see how thin it is in the middle there? So I don't even need to do anything more if I don't want to. I could just hold that there. Done. So I don't have to like worry about parts flying or anything like that. But now I need tongs because this is still hot. So put the flat edge on here for hanging, punch a hole, and I'll twist it real quick. That's fun too. I like twisting. You don't have to have a post vise to do a twist, but any kind of vise that you can lock it into will work. You can do it on the anvil with striking very slowly. It's going to take a lot of heats to do that. I don't recommend it, but you can twist on the anvil. It's just, you have way more precision and control here than you would on there. It's possible. You could even lock it into your hardy hole and twist it through there. Don't need that anymore. So we're going to flatten out the edge. Take my rounding piece and I'm just going to flatten. See how I missed the anvil? Do you hear that difference? Completely missed the anvil on that strike. Now if I want to round with both sides from the bottom and the hammer, I come over to the horn and it will start spreading the metal more. Can you see it? thinning out, but you see how it's widening too? So a good way to do that would be to use a cross peen, which I'm going to do now. I'll use that cross peen here in a second. Because I want it to get wider. So when I punch my hole, I want a big surface. Cross peen, you kind of have a different approach. You kind of want to come in at angles so that you can spread it out. If you guys need to get a little closer, I totally get it. See how much wider that is now?
Yeah.
Way wider, right? So I'll give it another heat. I'll clean it up and try to get it just a hair more wider. So when I punch, and I'll show you the trick I use when I do this, because I size the hole right up to the nail. Because I make a small punch hole and then I'll drive the nail through it, and then it's done. You know, so it's married up. So, what do we think I'm going to do with this nail head now that I've already got a slight taper already? Draw it out the same way we drew out the beginning piece. That 90-degree twist, every strike, it's elongating the steel and thinning it out at the same time. Starting to taper out and it's thinning out. Go back to the cross peen, draw this thing out some more, fatten it up. I'll get that little divot off the top. Scoop that up a little bit. Usually you want to heat it up a little more and just hot rasp. Cleans it up a little bit, gets rid of that extra metal, makes it look a little bit better. And now we'll put that twist in. This real quick. I want to get this as thinned out as I can for this nail. Anybody ever seen a nail made before? So these are traditional nails. It's just going to be square. And very useful to be able to do that if you're a homesteader or whatever, making your own nails, you know. And the way they used to do it back in the day was you drive the nail through the 2x4 or the wood, and then you bend the back end so it will not come out, and it's secured perfectly. That's like way back, probably an Amish way to do it. I'm not sure, but in the books I've read, it's they drive the nail in and then they just hammer in the back end to secure it in. What's that?
If you mess up, you can't use it again.
True. You can always cut it. But, good point. A+. There's a test on this later. All the adults have the test. The kids are great. What you got?
How many hammers does the blacksmith use?
So, honestly, I have a bunch here. Well, these are not hammers. These are top tools. I use this like 90% of the time. This is my favorite hammer. It's most comfortable in my hand. I use the straight peen wherever I put it. I don't even know where I put it. I do this a lot. Anybody see that cross beam? Oh, right here. See? I'd lose my head if it wasn't attached, I swear. I use this 90% of the time. I use the cross beam for certain work. I use the ball beam for certain work. You can tell I don't use it much because it's stuck. This is just Harbor Freight. You know, and I just use this to kind of, I'll use it when I peen over the nail head. These I use when I'm making knives. This is just a top tool. It's called a flatter. So you put your flatter on top and you're just driving it. And it makes the knife or the whatever metal you're working flat. This is just a fuller. So it's another top tool. What this will do is put divots into your work. You could put a bottom fuller on, and then when you're hitting it, it's compressing the wood, the metal from both sides to where it's thinning them out. Kind of like when you're doing it over here with the rounding hammer. Same principle, just different ways to do it. Or you can make tools, like I made this tool. It's not my design, I didn't design this. And this is just a fuller. So as I put the work through there, it just hits down and it thins it out. Alright, let's get this nail going. Clean that up a little bit. As I'm losing heat, I'll kind of stick with one side for a little bit, just to kind of clean it up, make it look better, and get it more symmetrical. So it's starting to look like a square taper. Once I get that taper finished, we'll get that done. We're going to twist this thing. I'm going to show you exactly how I do this. So I put it to where the end of the nail, the end of the curl is just barely visible, and I come up here. Where I twist is going to determine the actual amount of twist. So I like to do half twists. I think they look better. You could go a whole full twist. I just happen to prefer the half. And while I'm here, I can look at it and say, all right, is it square? Is it straight? And I can kind of make some small adjustments like that. Then I'll clean it up. I just use a small wire brush to clean this up. If you guys want to get a closer look, you can see how clean that twist is. That's why I like the half twist. Full twists look good, but personally, I think that half twist looks better. If you want to take a close look, by all means. We're in no rush.
Is it a viable option to use just like a campfire if it gets hot enough?
You can. There's videos online of people making fire forges in the ground. They're using like you can use a bellows, which is what they used way back, and they would just pump the bellow with their foot. But people do it with hair dryers and stuff now. there's no wrong ways, you know.
Yeah, the Vikings were all ground.
Yeah,
gorgeous.
and they did the foot bellow, right?
Uh,
What was that guy, Bertrand? Ruin. He did all the blacksmithing on a stump animal.
yeah,
Out in the woods.
Yeah.
He did like traditional Viking forging. So all we got to make sure everything's straightened up, and now I'll get it heated up so I can punch the hole.
Stump animal done on a piece of wood?
I'm sorry?
Stump animal, is that just on a piece of wood?
A stump animal is like driven into a tree stump,
Okay.
and then it ain't moving once you drive it in. It's a pain to get out, but they're viable. They're again, you don't need a 110-pound animal, you know, railroad track, a flat piece of thick steel like this. This is just a flat piece of steel welded onto some stuff. As long as it's flat and you can strike it, you can use it. You just get more, what's the word I'm looking for? Versatility. You get more versatility with an animal. Because it's not like I hit the sides, I can cut things on this back edge because this is a good sharp edge. These are all rounded so that when I'm hitting here or driving stuff down to fold it, you can use the Pritchell hole for stuff. You can cut right here. You can cut here. You can do all kinds of things. There's no wrong answers for it. So let's get this thing finished off. I'm sure you guys want to see the final product. I want to get this nail done so we can get that into the hook. Up, aka cleaning it up, trying to make it flat and even and square all the way around and centered to the whole rod. Got.
There's the square hole where you put redo the angle, redo the cut. But what's the other round? What's the round?
The Pritchell hole, that's for punching. You'll see me do that here in a second. So it's okay, good question. So you can see it's kind of looking like a nail a little bit, a square nail. We could round it. Square nail is more traditional. Saves time too. So I'll just heat that up. What's that?
I think I've seen a square nail before.
You have or
yeah.
you haven't?
Yeah, I had when I was a kid.
All right, so here's your question about the punch. So I'm going to make a little punch hole over here, right in here at the tail. Get myself situated. Give that another heat. So again, don't cut or punch on the flat, on the face of the handle. You got this, it's called the step or the shelf. This is where you want to mess it up. If you get close, you can see I got some cut marks in there. You don't want your cut marks here. Yeah, you can see them now. You guys want to look by all means. I only got the caution tape so that when I'm swinging, nothing flies off at you guys. See the little divots? That's where I do most of my cut. Alright. So, punch right here. We start my punch. You got bad hands like me, drop it all the time. Had a question from a gentleman yesterday about how to hold the tongs easier. And so like when I'm working bigger pieces, I use this to kind of hold it. So I'll slide this down, I'll grab the piece, I'll clamp it in, whatever it is. All my stuff getting stuck in there from that ring. And I just slide it down. That way I don't have to grip it as tight. Because I got bad nerve damage in my hands. I drive stuff all the time. Yep.
What do you do when you bend yourself? You know the thing you used to make the hole. What happens when you bend back?
Like I did?
Yeah.
I'll straighten it out. Good question. Brand new. It never happened. You did not see that. These are not the droids you're thinking. You guys know that movie?
Yes.
All right.
Watched it recently.
Yes! You're raising them right, my friend. All right, so I'm gonna cut this off now. What's that?
I'm trying.
Ain't we all? My kids were listening to Guns N' Roses the other day and singing every word. I was like, yes, I'm doing good.
Old AC/DC classical music the other day.
Oh yeah. So I do that twist. Don't need that anymore. So we just throw that away and use it for another day. All coming together. I've already got the hole started for the punch, so I'm going to bring it over to that ring really did a number last time. So now I take it to the Pritchell hole. And I don't put it all the way, I kind of put it on the edge because it's going to bend it. And notice I'm just going very light taps. So we get through. And that's why you got that Pritchell hole. Plus, it keeps this as flat as possible. You can see, let me take it off the end here. See, it's kind of curved a little bit from the punch. So when you're driving through that Pritchell hole, it's going to do that. That's why you kind of, you don't want to get it directly in the center, you want to kind of get it toward the edge of it, so it gives it a little support, but all you do is flatten it out, and you're back in business. Okay, so I'll heat that up some more. We're almost done. Doesn't take very long. This is the tricky part. When you get to here, you want to leave you about a 1/4 inch. And you want to clamp this thing tight. You're squeezing that steel because I'm going to peen it now. And what I want it to do is, as I drive down, I want that to spread out. So as I'm peening this down, trying to spread it every which way I go. And this is just the initial one. It usually takes about 2 heats depending on how well you get it. see the head forming on it. You able to see it, sir? Kind of see the head forming. So that's almost done. I'll do one more heat on that, and then we'll slow drive it through the end of the hook, and our project will basically be complete. So I like teaching it that way because you're learning how to make two items that function together from one piece of steel. And the fundamentals are the same. Because we draw it out, we taper it, we can square it, we can round it, we can do whatever we want. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you're able to make a functional piece of art, really, that you can hang on the wall, or you can drive other pieces of wood together to build whatever you need. Especially when you don't have the, store-bought nails. And these usually work a lot better too. So I'll just do an oil quench for the nail. Any questions so far? We're almost done. We're in the home stretch now. Good, so?
Water quenching and oil quenching.
So oil and water quenching, really the difference is depending on the steel.
Yeah.
So if you're using 01 steel, that's tool steel, you want to use oil. If you're using W1 tool steel, you want water. W water, oil. For knives, 1095, 1080, 1084, pretty much you want to do an oil quench. The quench is the easy part. The real key to making a good edged anything is that heat process of getting it to that critical temperature, slow air cooling it, raising it up to a little bit higher temperature, letting it air cool again, then you put it in for that critical temperature one more time, and you quench it. And those three should make that grain structure almost perfect.
Is there a specific type of oil you like to use?
I use cooking oil because I make a lot of things that people eat off, so it's food safe. Good question.
So I know that with larger, when you make larger things, there's a chance that your steel can bend.
Correct.
The question, well, is there less of a chance for it, like, depending on how small?
Actually, the smaller, probably the easier it's going to be to crack or break. It all warms. Sometimes you want to do what's called having a brain aneurysm right now. I can't think of heat treat. Yeah, differential. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. So a differential heat treat is basically as you quench, instead of just dropping the whole thing in, you kind of slowly get it in inch by inch, and you start with like the blade edge, and you just kind of get it there, and then you slow roll the whole thing in. Because you don't care if the spine of the knife is the hardest, the blade's got to be the hardest. The spine should be a little bit softer. That's blade making and basics are two different things. But thank you for that. I could not think of differential. Let's get this hot or worked on one more time. Get this edge in. The smaller the metal sometimes, the harder it is to work. Come on. Just want to get that heat on there. Put it back in here. Drive this head one last time. Quench, let it sit, then we'll drive it through to that hook, and simple as that. And I'm going to prove that you can drive a square peg through a round hole. It's possible. You're going to see it happen. So you can tell all those teachers that you were wrong, teacher lady or teacher dude.
Really, you just got to give it enough force, and then it's going to happen.
Yeah,
Or the hole
exactly.
is bigger.
Exactly. Well, and we got heat on our side too. So. It was raining?
Drizzling.
Alright, so you see how the oil blackens it up a little bit too? Yeah, burn it off. So we're gonna let that cool just a little bit. Now I'll take that out. We'll take that nail and we'll drive it through.
Square it back around.
Yep, we're gonna prove people wrong. And this is also where you want to strike when the fire's hot.
Fire's generally pretty hot.
I'm sorry, when the iron's hot. You want to go slow so you don't break nothing. So this may take a couple of heats. Because I don't want to split that steel. Okay. Take another heat. One stir.
And a half twist is more consistent to it.
Yeah. I just like, so I twist vertically, not horizontally, and I find I get better control on it.
Yeah, and a half don't wrap up on you while it's cooling.
Right,
You
right.
get a more consistent twist.
Right. So I like to do a vertical twist, like I'm doing over here. You can twist from the side. I find that I have more control that way than trying to
Yeah, because you
do this and I'm bending with it. Putting shafts all over the place. Yeah. I told him about heat. But I told him I was like, we're gonna put a round square peg through a round hole. It can be done.
Enough heat how?
Dang, man.
At least the nail safety
At least
from
the
falling.
square pegs in the round hole.
That's right. Sometimes it helps to be ambidextrous. I'll fix my nail here in a little bit. Everything's fixable.
Yeah, the question is finding it.
What's that?
Not in
Well, that's why you measure it twice and cut once. Or you just get a new piece of wood.
You can't reuse the piece of metal. Like, let's say you mess up on that nail, then you can just heat it up again and retry.
Correct.
Wood, if you mess it up, you gotta get a new piece of wood, or it has to be much, much smaller.
Yes.
So,
It grows on trees, so technically.
Everything's fixable. That's the beauty. This thing keeps. Maybe I should start twisting after I do this.
maybe, because then it stays straight.
I mean, this is how it always goes for me. It's just a slow process, and I'm okay with that. Because if you're gonna do it right, take your time and do it right. You know.
Instead of rushing through it and then having to do it again.
That's right. I tell my kids that all the time.
Time is either your greatest enemy or your best friend.
right.
With the right end.
All right, we're almost done. I apologize. It's taking that much longer.
Yeah, I like had it.
Moisture's probably got something.
I'm sorry?
Moisture probably has something to do with it. Dries, gets it wet, runs off faster.
The reason he's under a ton.
So the breeze is making it cool faster. I think the moisture is making these things stuck in there a little bit more than usual. But again, I don't want to mess it up, so I'm taking my sweet time with it. I want you guys to see there's no rush. You got plenty of time, plenty of heat. You make it, you take your time with it, you perfect your craft. You know? I'm still learning and doing things to get better at blacksmithing. And I like to use the hand tools most. I don't really like to use the power tools as much, unless I'm trying to make a bunch of stuff just to save time. But you want to get as efficient and proficient as you can. Look at this. I'm almost getting it down to a science with my fingers. Probably lost all that. Where do you get this?
You have proven people wrong. You have broken a square peg through
You
a
guys,
round hole.
you're all the witness. We just discovered the world is a bunch of liars.
A square peg can't.
Sure can.
Unless it's wooden, then it's a little harder.
Yeah.
Surely can. All right, so I'm going to heat this one more time. I'm going to heat my nail one more time just to make them look pretty. And I'll punch them both so I can make them look pretty if I can hang on to anything. You didn't see that? Use the tools at your disposal, you know?
It's not the power tool, it's fine.
That was science.
Science is what explains.
Heat that up. And we'll be done with this. Any final questions? Great questions. I do appreciate the questions and the feedback. What you got?
What are the metal chains for?
So I put the chains on. It helps quiet the handle. So this is good. It's good rebound. You can hear it. It's good. This is dead back here. So if I didn't have the chains on, it would ring loud. It would be like that every time. Every time. But this old anvil, I don't know why it's dead back here. But you can see a little bit of rebound. And a lot. This is good. This is good. No bueno.
So the ends are dead.
On this anvil.
On that anvil, the ends are dead, but,
Yeah.
but the middle.
This is perfect.
So that makes absolutely no sense.
So what I think happened is when I got this, I cleaned up the face. I think this was getting hit with sledgehammers or something because it was all marred up. And I have no idea what they were doing up here because there's a ton of cut marks.
Trying to cut stuff there.
I would assume they were.
Or like they
I don't know what they
tried
were
to
doing.
drill a hole or they used the wrong hammer.
I have no idea.
Probably horseshoes.
Maybe.
Yeah, it could have been horseshoes.
Railroad spikes.
Could have been that. I don't know what they were doing. Historically, you would see a lot of people.
Hey, you just got sparks.
Yes. Isn't that fun?
Yeah,
That's my favorite part, man. All right.
Anybody got a bird's nest?
So I'll dip that. Let that cool.
Then you can go grab your square peg.
bit more. Clean it up real quick. See how hot it is first.
Yeah, how do you resist the urge to not like grab when it slips off?
Oh,
You get burned a few times?
yeah, you learn not to do that after, 20 or 30 times. Nope, that's still hot. See? There you go.
Nope, that's still hot.
Sometimes you want to agitate it in there, it keeps the bubbles off.
What happens if there's bubbles?
The bubbles will keep the oil from sticking to it, so you kind of want to agitate it or let it get some air. More so important with knife making than this, but you don't want the scale coming off, and the scale is just oxidized steel. So it gives it a better finish when you do that. That's why you try and get that scale off. Like I'm using this little towel and it's sticking to it, so it's gonna have little blue flurries on it. So, come out there. It's still a little hot. It's not the smoothest one. But we started with a round hole. Is it round anymore?
No, it's a square.
So we drove a square peg through a round hole.
Yeah.
We should have done. We should have taken a before-after picture.
Yeah. Good point. So this will fit in here somehow once I get to the sides.
Like before, mid, after. Like before it was the bar, mid with it as with a circle
With the
pen,
round hole.
and with a
So-
It's a puzzle piece.
Yeah, but I mean, once you drive it in, it's fitted to it already. So it's probably just those little blue pieces. All right. You asked the most questions. Were the best ones.